Hello everyone. Welcome to the last video for this week. I want to talk a little bit about some more varieties that I have found on the Mufti issue, the pictorial issue from 1937 to 50 or 42. And just to give you an update on paper types and perfs and things that I found along the way. So this week I finished off the balance of the high values, which was the 20-cent Fort Garry, 50-cent Vancouver Harbor, and dollar Chateau de Ramsay. Now, as you're probably all aware, the incidence of plate varieties and flaws after the Admiral period is very, very uh, few and far between on these issues, almost to the point where it can feel like there's no point in spending any time looking at them under magnification. However, you'd be wrong because persistence in looking at these stamps does pay off. And in looking at the items I had this week, I found 3 varieties which may or may not be constant. More study will be required to determine whether or not they are. In addition, I have found 2 or 3 more paper types that I've added to the table that I have. I think I'm up to CBNV now. So that's actually quite a few more than I had last week. And I've added as much information as I can based on whether I was working with mint or used stamps. So perforations continue to run the gamut. So they seem to vary from 11.85 all the way up to 12.1, and there are some 05 variations in between, like 11.95 and 12.05. So it very much appears that CBN had several perforators and that this ran through the whole period. So I'm just going to show you the varieties now. I'm going to turn the camera around again, take it off the tripod, and just show you on my screen here what I found this week. So here we've got a close-up of the Fort Garry stamp. Now, if you look at posts here, the T, there's a nice spur on the T of posts, and it's nice and it's very, very obvious, very clear. And that I thought was rather interesting. Okay, then I've got another one that had a dot on the frame line right here underneath the C of cent, and that was on a different stamp. Then on the dollar, the Chateau dollar, I had a used example that has this large blob above the P of postage in this panel here. And that's, I think, one of 2 varieties that I found on the dollar now. So that's very encouraging. And, in terms of the paper types and the dates, one of the things that has emerged is that the Anline ink on the dollar is the later printings. Although, surprisingly, I had always thought that the Anline ink was limited to the last printings made in early 1942. However, I have managed to find printings on a ribbed paper from 1940 that have very, very slight Anline ink effects. Not as marked as is often seen on the mint stamps, which come on the softer paper with the vertical mesh. but there are some earlier printings on translucent ribbed paper that show very slight bleeding of the ink and are therefore anlines. So that was an interesting surprise. I did not expect to see that. So next week I'm going to carry on with the back of the book, high values, or which will be the airmails, special delivery, and then in subsequent weeks I'll take a look at the low values. So yeah, thank you for watching, and uh, we'll carry on next week. Bye.